All right. So when we're doing explicit strategy instruction, we want to make sure we go through the three phases of learning, which are concrete, representational, sometimes called pictorial, and then abstract, CRA. And a lot of times when we work with students on remediation, we tend to live in the abstract, and we kind of want to flip that. We want to spend more time in the concrete and representational, which makes the abstract easier. So, for example, like memorizing times tables would be living in the abstract. And what happens is it leads to kids that actually, it leads to the fact that they don't memorize them because it's really not a good strategy to learn those facts. So I'm going to show you some examples of concrete, and then we're going to kind of shift into representational, and then I'll give you some examples of abstract. Concrete, and we're going to use the example 3+2. So concrete is anything like physical you can manipulate with your hands. So a wreck and wreck, not a digital one, but one actually, the kids can slide these beads over, right? They can slide over to 3, and then we're going to slide over 2 more. All right, and you want to slide them in this direction that I'm showing because we want to kind of count left to right, much like we read. So push all the beads to the right and then slide them over to the left. So we have 3, 4, 5. Now, moving on, you might have counters. I'll use, I think a lot of times we see teddy bears, but here we'll use frogs. And kids might be able to pull out 3 counters and say, this is 1, 2, 3 red frogs. I'm going to add 2 blue frogs, and I'm going to have a total of 5 frogs. All right. That can easily be shifted into a 5 frame or a 10 frame. Here, I'll just kind of give you an example of a 5 frame since we're working within 5. And don't have the kids draw frogs. They're just going to draw circles, and they can use crayons for sure. And they're just going to fill up this 5 frame. All right. The nice thing is working within a 5 frame gets kids to eventually working within a 10 frame. And we do a lot with the number 10 in addition and subtraction. All right. So this is moving more from up here with the frogs, concrete, if you're using actual physical frogs, to something more pictorial or representational using a 5 frame. We can also use a number line. Number lines are somewhat abstract, so maybe using something called a number path would be more appropriate depending on the ability of the student. So here we have 3, we're going to add 1, and then we're going to add 1 more, 3, 4, 5. Something you can also use are flashcards. And these are called counting on flashcards. And you print these out, and what you end up doing is you cut out the corners and you fold all these flaps back. So here's an example, slide 4 here. I have the number 3. So I want kids to recognize the number 3. I'm going to cut out these corners and fold these numbers back, and I'm going to flip out the flap with the 2 on it. And I'm going to say, the kids are going to say 3, 4, 5. All right, and that's how you can use these flashcards. Now, moving on to something more abstract. Anytime we're using an algorithm, whether it be addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, that is abstract thinking. Okay, so jumping to an algorithm is abstract, but also we could work with either a number bond or maybe even a tape diagram and also be in abstract thinking where I'm going to ask the kids, hey, what is this missing piece? What's the missing addend where 3 plus this number gives me the sum of 5? Okay,